Avoir. Okay, welcome back to another episode of FitPet Boston Talks. My name is Leah Lodato, and I am the host of the show. And today I am joined by my spouse, Laurie.
Hello.
And we are going to talk about a question that one of our listeners / somebody who's been on the podcast before asked me via text message this week. So before we get started on that topic, I just wanted to say thank you for tuning in. If you're new to the podcast, historically, this show has interviewed local Boston area dog handling professionals, and we have chatted about our lives, dogs, and careers. In 2023, I took a step back from that mission and goal, and Laurie and I did one-on-one episodes. I did a couple of solo episodes, and we did deep dives on different dog training and handling topics. The people who listen to this podcast are other dog trainers and handlers, our clients, and local dog enthusiasts, from what I can tell. So we try to kind of address everybody that's in our audience. This podcast does tend to be a little bit doggy. We train and trial our own dogs in a variety of different dog sports, and we spend a lot of time with dogs in our free time, although I do have a few extra hobbies that don't have anything to do with dogs, which I think is pretty healthy. But most of our free time is spent in the company of dogs, and we have gathered and gotten to know some really cool people. I should say gathered, but as we've gathered together,
we unfold them into our circle.
We have met some really cool people that we can now call friends. So yeah, that's what we're about here. FitPet Boston Talks is a little extension of my dog walking business. I own and operate a very small micro business called FitPet Boston. You can find me on Instagram at FitPet Boston. I'm a dog walker Monday through Friday. I also do a little bit of dog training, and Laurie is exclusively a dog trainer, and she is very good at what she does. As she stares off into space waiting for me to get moving. Okay, so let's get going on this question. So question was posed to us. Two-part question. How have you grown as trainers? And is there anything you have changed your opinion on from when you started to where you are now? So I'm going to let Laurie kind of start to unpack those questions a little bit.
Yeah, I have to do it all. There's no time to think about it because there could be dead air.
It's okay. I can take it out. I have time this time.
So I've been doing this for 20 years now. And when I first started, I had started dog training with my yellow lab, Bella. I didn't know how to train a puppy. I didn't know anything about raising a dog. I had 2 family dogs before that I had no involvement in, really, besides petting and, petting them and doing things that kids do, like hold no responsibility and let the mother do all the work. So when I got Bella, she was just this nipping nightmare of a puppy. I mean, of course, she was a wonderful dog, but I didn't know how to handle her or give her structure or just anything. I didn't know how to do anything with her. So I remember walking into this dog training facility, and a prong collar was put on her right away, and she was corrected for going after my hand, which she had no problem doing in front of the dog trainer. And the dog trainer corrected the dog, and Bella didn't go after my hand for the entire rest of the class. Now, was I happy it worked? Yes, because I had a piranha that was going after me, and I was very sick at the time. I had cancer, so one would argue that my wits weren't about me all the time. Most of the time I was very tired and didn't know what to do with this rambunctious dog, thinking that this dog was going to give me a reason to get up every day, which is why I got a puppy. Why would you get a puppy when you're sick? Well, I was like, I'm not working, so this would be a perfect time to get a dog. Not really thinking, just like some of my clients today, which is why I don't always pick on my customers, because we do things out of a need, and my need was to feel like I had a friend. So I understand when people don't think things through as far as getting a dog, because in that moment, I really wanted a friend and I needed a reason to get up every day. So I really do try to remember where I came from when, I hear people make certain decisions. You can't judge them because, sometimes it's warranted, but sometimes you just have to have a bit of a heart towards people to understand why they do the things they do. And Bella was like just a nightmare in the house. And when I look at myself then, what I would have told myself now, my God, you idiot. Like, you weren't doing anything right, Laurie. Like, how could you do that? I didn't know any better. Anyway, so needless to say, a lot of Bella's training was compulsion, like based on compulsion. I had used a prong collar. She became a very good, I have no problem with prong collars or electric collars or any of those things. I love different tools for dogs, and I think that they work well. Sometimes they work better for some dogs and not others. So my view hasn't changed on those things. But the main difference is I just didn't have a good relationship with Bella. I didn't focus enough on food rewards and play. And I mean, you really build a relationship through these positive things. And I was really I just wasn't doing that 'cause I didn't know better. So I really just rectified that through each dog that I got after that. I always wonder if I don't think that my relationship with Bella was repaired very well. I know she loved me, but it wasn't like the relationship I had with Seamus and Ripa, because I had incorporated play and tug and games. Like, at no point in the beginning when I had Bella was the phrase relationship building activities used, play used. It was just always teaching the dog what you didn't want them to do, not teaching them what you wanted them to do. Or did I say that right?
Yeah.
So that's really the major change that has happened through the course of my training. And also, I ended up swinging the whole other way. So I went from compulsion to the mentor that I was with. She kind of went all positive, and I'm like, what's this shit? I've never done this before. Like, all of a sudden we're changing the rules.
What year was this? Like 2008, 2009, something like this?
Probably maybe 3 years later. So like 2003 and then 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8.
Okay.
Yeah, something like that. And I was like, great, now we're doing this. Like, throughout the time I was like honing the clicker, and I was taking APDT. I started to take APDT classes, and which is ironic because, the Association of Professional Dog Trainers suggests LIMA, least invasive, minimally aversive, and that just wasn't the case. Anyway, once I started to pursue that, I kind of like followed my mentor and went the other way. Like back in the day, you just did what people said. When they were your teacher, you didn't question everything that they said. You just did it, which I miss sometimes in dog training today. I think that I back then I do wish I had questioned some things, but I also miss the type of respect that a mentor garners. Or I would like to think that every person that I listen to, I have a respect for. And if you see that they treat dogs fairly and they're well established and they have achieved many things with their dogs, I think it's okay for a student to shut up and listen to that teacher, right? And usually if something's wrong, you feel it in your gut right away. And then that's when you question it. But back in the day, you just did what you were told. That's how I was raised in my family, and that's how I was kind of raised in the dog world. And only until different people bring, wonderful things to you. Like, they all have their own gift and present to give you so that you can learn off of them. So I swung all positive. And I remember I was doing that for a long time. I was really good with clicker training, and when I was adding my cue, capturing behaviors, shaping behaviors. I spent a lot of time with in-kennel dogs in kennel training or putting the foundation on dogs that would be used in Schutzhund, a few cop dogs here and there when they were younger, just basic obedience, sits and downs and leash walking and, going to shopping plazas, the usual foundation building stuff. When I had Ripa, I thought I'm going to raise her all positive. I'm not going to put a prong on her. I'm not going to put a choke. None of that. I mean,
you did.
And I think all positive.
You did raise her all.
I did. The dog never saw.
Traditional senses, you didn't use any tools.
Right. And now, of course, I think that all positive dog training is wrong, because when you put a collar and a leash on a dog, it's not all positive.
Yeah, because
there's
say no,
a type of
it's
restraint.
Not all positive.
So I guess that changed me too. I'm all positive. You're not, though, because you'll say no. That's negative. You'll use a crate for a timeout. So it's not all positive. So just stop saying that. Mostly positive. So she had never seen any of those things. And I said, well, I'm gonna get at least a BH on her with all positive dog training, which I did. My relationship with Ripa was just so beautiful. Mm-hmm. I had a really great, she knew so many tricks. Like I said, I was really honing in on my clicker training, because when that's all you have to rely on, you start to get really good at it. And also, as far as all positive, I was withholding food from dogs until they worked for me. So they would only get food when they worked.
Which is another question about all positive. Is that really all positive? Right,
because you're withholding food. And then, people switch. Oh, the dog needs like a large amount of food to have inside their body. They can't just be getting food from your hand. They need to have a set meal.
Food, yeah.
Right. And I'm like, oh God. So, okay, that changed. So I would use food for training, but I'd also give them a little bit of food at the end, after they had completed their work. Same thing, that I was laying a lot of tracks in the beginning. I hate tracking. I don't know if it's because I'm, PTSD. But we would lay tracks. I mean, I feel like all morning, all afternoon. I mean, I worked 7 days a week in this kennel. And like the one day off we would have, I'd be out in the field and, oh my God, just laying tracks every day laying tracks. And then of course they would get this huge amount of food at the end of the track. Do I track Buddha? No. So I guess that changed, like feeding from my hand, giving them more food, going on, like very compulsion-based dog training. Then I go to all positive. Then I started to train dogs for my own business. Along the way, I had left New Hampshire. I started working for a dog school in the Billerica area, and we were still doing all positive. I left there. I started doing it on the dog training on the side. I started to lose clients because, if this is the hill I'm going to die on. All positive training. Like I knew some dogs would benefit from a prong collar, but because I had this all positive thing in my head, I don't know, would I want to, get another halo on my head? I don't know. But I was losing customers because I would start to refer them to somebody that would use a prong. And that was just ridiculous to me. So obviously I never swung all the way back. I would never do that because I saw how damaging it was to my first dog and frankly to many dogs. You can have a dog listen to you, but to have a dog want to listen to you, I mean, that's just a beautiful thing. Like to see a dog wag their tail and their whole ass when they see you, that comes from play and reward-based stuff. Mm. All the good things, all the one running around the yard like an idiot, having your dog chase you and then giving him a toy. I mean, that's why you have a dog, to have a friend, right? I feel like, I still feel bad about Bella, but I guess it had to happen. I mean, she had the best life. We went to the woods every day and we went to just everywhere. She had a great life, but it wasn't the relationship that I wanted. So, and then, I did a little bit of everything. I did some prong collar, some electric collar, dog training, and I always emphasized positive reinforcement, and I tend to stay away from adding punishment until the dog is much older. there are some different cases, and one of them when I introduced the e-collar, the dog was a little younger because it was chasing cars in the street. And I thought, well, I'm either going to employ this e-collar or the dog is going to die because he was racing. And I'm like, what's the end game here? You're in traffic chasing cars, so you're going to die. So yeah, then I am where I am today. I make sure that, and also watching my people, it's interesting because like way in the beginning, again, when I was learning about all this compulsion, this dog training, and it's based more on correction, I'm seeing these dogs do bite work, and of course they used correction, but the dog was just so happy to play. And really when I met Steve, that showed me, because he had such a softness about him, which I found odd because, he's a decoy. But there was such a kindness about him, and I really liked it. Like I was like, this is a good guy. This is a guy who really likes dogs. He sees the importance of not making a dog defensive so quickly. It was just great to just see somebody who's calm, because I'm not a calm person. And also I was learning from somebody who was just a brute for not a better, there's no other term, like kind of beastly, So to see that you could train a dog and be calm and then offer them this play and reward, and then yes, there's other consequences too, and that might be a prong collar where it's uncomfortable when you pull, gauging your corrections. Every dog is so different. You have to tailor everything. You can have a basic foundation, but you'll just like pull from here and here. Oh, let me take that out. Let me add this. I guess, and even more recently, it's the ability to step back and not feel pressured that you need to produce a particular product in a particular amount of time, and just accepting that slow progress is still progress. I still have a hard time with that because my life isn't much more than dogs. Like, of course, this is my family, but I really base my success on every dog I train. So if I see slow progress, it's disappointing to me, and I'm like, well, this is what I do. Why isn't this isn't working? So I've really had to accept over time that slow progress is still progress, and I still have to remind myself to have fun, because when you're in the grind and you're working a lot, you tend to forget that. So I guess, all that.
Yeah, I think that's a really good recap of kind of how you started, and definitely how things ebbed and flowed with having Bella, realizing that wasn't the way that you wanted to train Ripa, and then going on the total opposite end of the spectrum, and now kind of landing softly somewhere in the middle, I think is a good way to describe your training style and technique. And yeah, I think with Buddha, it's like he just has totally different qualities compared to Ripa. So you have to change you can't have a cookie cutter approach to your training when you're training your own dogs, and I think that that's an important point to make, because if you are out there and you are just a regular dog owner, one of the options that you have for training, if you have a quote problem with your dog, is like one of these big box canine board and train programs. And they have a cookie cutter approach. Every dog goes through their program the same. And the more time I spend with dogs, the more I realize that, sure, like Laurie said, you can have your foundation, you can have your way of, marking and rewarding behavior, playing with the dog, putting the leash on, this, that, and the other thing, but I can't really explain it in the context of a podcast. But your individual dog is going to have a few individual needs compared to other dogs, and having a trainer that's able to contextualize what your dog needs in that moment is really, really important. And that's not something that you can get from a curriculum. I guess you could say.
I think a lot of the board and trains have...
I got to talk into the microphone, Laurie.
Especially...
Just move it like this.
Especially... I think some board and trains, especially the smaller companies, are doing that.
I think that they're doing
a great job doing that. And then they tell the parents, hey, this is what your dog is about and this is what you got to do. And
giving a lot of go-home lessons.
Go home.
Follow through.
Go home.
Get out of here. Go home. Here's your dog.
Go on now.
No, I think that was an awesome kind of summary of where you've been. And I don't think that I can really answer this question because I still feel like I'm in the midst of it. So I started working with dogs in my 30s. So like Laurie started when you were like, what, 21, 22? 23. So I started my business when I was 30 without knowing much about handling. I had shadowed some of my friends for literally like a month prior to opening my own company and starting to walk neighborhood dogs in Somerville at the time. And I guess I was lucky in a way. Well, I've been lucky in so many ways. First, that I met Laurie and Melissa and that I was able to kind of learn without having the pressure of actually training the dogs, right? So like my business and what I do on the daily is like radically different than it was when I first started. Because when I first started, I was doing almost exclusively all leash walks with like up to 4 dogs, but most of my walks were like two dogs on leashes. Most of them were on flat collars or harnesses, no prong collars, easy walk harnesses. It was a little bit of a mess. I was feeding the heck out of the dogs when they engaged with me on a leash walk just to keep them from pulling, giving them a lot of breaks along the way. Doing a little bit of work with each one of them individually, but for the most part, I was just doing like long bathroom breaks with dogs while their owners were working. And now I almost exclusively do woods walks. So I have all of my dog walking clients trained on the electric collar. So that was a huge shift in my business. So I went from not knowing how to use the tool at all to using the tool to train my own dog, Ruben, seeing the benefit of being able to give him the freedom and being able to pull the ripcord if I really needed to. And slowly I started to train my dog walking clients and I saw a lot of success. And when I mean slowly, I mean over the course of like 2 years before I taught a class to anybody using the electric collar. And the more I worked with the dogs, I got more confident in my ability to train and reinforce the recall command. And I now have packs of dogs that like when we see other dogs or people, they just kind of automatically walk over to the side. They're really socialized in that environment. And I think that for some of my dogs, it has helped tremendously to have that time off the leash with me because it just is so natural and normal for them to experience that freedom, but also have, parameters, have to recall if I call them to me. But now I'm at the point where like I don't even like I'm fighting a cold right now. I got into my car at noon. I picked up a phone call and I realized that was the first time that I had like talked since I left the house. I was like, oh God, because I'm kind of on cruise control when I'm out with these dogs because they're trained. So that's kind of been my evolution as a trainer as it comes to working with clients. And I don't do as many like one-on-one classes as Laurie does. That's not like in my comfort zone. I don't mind doing them, but she is really good at them and really can connect with people. And I will train one-on-one if dogs go through our training program and want to introduce the electric collar. I do that, and I've had a great amount of success.
You do really well. Like that's my
jam. I like being out.
I always feel like one-on-ones are not my thing, but like you're really good with people and dogs. You do one-on-one classes because you teach e-collar training, and it's helped a lot of parents.
Yeah, it has, and it's because I see the value in it. It makes it so much easier for me to be like, listen, if you just are able to wrap your mind around this concept, you will totally see the benefit. And, my clients do. So that's the huge shift for me. And then for my own personal, that's like the business shift for me. And then for my own personal dogs, what I'm seeing with Raven is, well, let me back up a little bit. So when I first walked into Laurie's yard, I had a dog with me that was probably like a 65-pound real pit bull. Like the dog had a good amount of drive, ended up actually biting somebody. So we had to say sayonara to the client because there wasn't,
she wasn't
complying with the rules that we were basically saying, like, listen.
We were telling her what to do to prevent another bite.
Yeah, like simple things. She said, put a leash on the dog,
she said,
put the dog
no,
in the
I'm
crate,
not going to do that.
She said no.
And so we said, okay, goodbye.
I can't help you. But anyway, I brought him into the yard and Laurie pulled out a jute tug toy, like a 12-inch jute tug toy. And I'm like, what is that? It looked like, I don't know, it looked like a potato sack. So I was like, in my head, I was like, what the hell is that thing? Like, I didn't even know it was a toy.
That's my magical potato sack for dog training.
Yeah, and she had like a string attached to it and she started firing him up and I was like, what the hell is going on here? And he started playing with her and he bit onto it and he was crazy. And I was like, whoa, he loved it. And that was my first experience with a dog trainer. That was my very first experience. I got to see a dog that had a good amount of drive play with somebody who knew how to play. And play is certainly a part of my training. It always has been. I think in the past few years, because it's been so...
Works.
Yeah, because you see more people go to seminars to learn how to play with their dogs. You see different dog sports cropping up that are really focused around play. You know, you can see how it really brings out the best in a dog. You know, using that as a way to train is, why the hell wouldn't you if your dog is motivated by play? So with Raven, I have trained almost every single behavior with both food and toys. I've even used the clicker to release to a toy with Raven because she finds it so rewarding. I don't necessarily recommend doing that with every dog because the way we utilize the clicker at ABC Dog Training is if you click, you get paid with food. But if your dog's super motivated by a toy, you can use the clicker to reward to a toy if they get super amped up. And the big change that I've seen in my training is just the value of the marker system and kind of the Premack principle of Raven healing for the reward and building up that drive to heal for something better. And it takes a long time to build up stuff like that, but seeing the success and the value of having that marker and having that really great reward that, you know, we've built up, because I play with her a lot. You know, I went through like, do I play tug with her? Do I not play tug with her? She's a retriever. I don't want her to have a hard mouth, yada, 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 yada. But she loves tug so much and it's a great way for us to bond. And I'm like, I'd be stupid not to, because I want to do these obedience things with her. And if I'm able to get her to like it too, why the hell wouldn't I do this? And we can still do the retriever stuff as well. So for me, working with my own individual dog, that's been my big aha, is just really the value of developing that marker system and being able to use it to teach behaviors. And I really haven't had to use a lot of correction with my dear Raven because she's pretty sweet, I think, in the long run. But yeah, I think that kind of sort of answers your question. I feel like I'm still in the throes of it because I'm still so new. I feel like I'm very new, so I'm still in, you know, the learning phase. But one of the things that Laurie said to me very early on was just, and I know this sounds weird because we're married, but I don't know if we were dating or whatever. She said, never question what I say about dogs.
That sounds a little conceited.
It wasn't though, because to me, you felt confident and you knew that I didn't know anything. And I always remember that. And it's not that I haven't questioned you. I have questioned you since you said that, but
like a million times.
But it's
like
always,
a million
but
times.
It's always in my mind because I knew how confident you were about your ability. And I knew that, and I still know to this day, like this is your thing and you deserve to say that because it's true. You feel, and if you say something, even if I disagree or whatever, I think I know better, I'm still going to look at exactly what you're saying and make sure that I see it through that point of view because I know that you know what you were doing. And that was definitely like a ground rule kind of for our relationship. And I, to this day, like I said in the last podcast, I talk to you when I have a question. Like, I don't go online, because another thing you said was like, don't fill your mind with a bunch of training videos on YouTube. Like, ask me first. And I did, and I still do. And like, of course I watch training videos and stuff like that, but I still value the one-on-one relationship that we have and your wisdom to guide me in a direction when I have a question. And that to me is invaluable. And no, we don't always agree on stuff.
No. But I think like the basics, like I know, like it's sort of, you feel in some way like, hey, I've been around the block.
That was the vibes of what you were saying.
Yeah. I got
I cut my teeth.
Listen
to what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I've learned by a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
Try
like
not
with
to
the
make
basics
them.
or the dog or being able to read a dog and know if they're going to bite. And I guess just reading a dog. And when I have, I mean, and I've really been around great people. And so that's what I meant by that. Also, you said the clicker, we mark it's like clicker reward with food, but I'll just, like have the dog do the behavior and then all done or yes. And then I'll let them have the toy. So I just felt like I had to clear that up.
Yeah. Different reward
click
markers.
and then food. Yeah. You can just say yes and like let the dog bite the toy, but only when you say it, sort of thing.
Yep.
Cool. I still have, there are some things, simple things. I was like asking Claudia, Steve, and Shauna the other day. I'm like, am I not doing something with this dog that I wasn't having fast enough success? Success and a lot, but not fast enough. And I just,
Yeah, it makes you question things when things don't happen on your timetable. I definitely do question it for sure, but I'm happy. Like, my dog looks good. She looks happy. And to me, that's worth more than like doing a bunch, especially with the retriever stuff, because some of those dogs, man, they come to the line and they're looking straight ahead and they're not looking at their owner. They're not looking at their handler, and they're in heel position because they know that if they're not in heel position, they are going to get whacked. And I don't want to have a dog that looks like that. I just don't. And for me, having a happy dog, even if we don't nail everything, is just so worth it. And she is. This dog is so freaking happy. It's almost irritating.
She is happy. I could be in a bad mood. She just comes wagging by.
Her whole body.
She's so clueless. She's just wagging her tail, walking by. Like, God forbid you say hello to her. She'll, like, her ass is smacking her face. She's so happy. So, yeah, she is a very happy dog.
Definitely. Okay,
they're all starting to meld. Like, we've had a tough time getting these dogs to...
Wait, what do you mean?
Well, because Buddha's all up in her business.
Oh, yeah. So if you're new, if you haven't been listening, we have 3 dogs, Reuben, Raven, and Buddha. Reuben and Buddha are 6. Going to be 6. Buddha's going to be 6. Reuben is 6. And Raven is a 1-year-old lab, and she is not spayed, and Buddha is not neutered. So it was a little challenging there for a while, but the past week or so, we've been able to have them loose, and they're just chilling.
I mean, always supervised.
Yeah, we don't
but I don't have to worry about him, giving her... It's not a gynecology visit every time they hang out now, which, and it's really just was me saying no. Just like that, no. And then if he didn't listen and he went back, I would crate him. And I think after a while he was like, okay, I'm either going to be out minding my business or playing, like play with a toy with her. That's fine. But we have to stop with the gynecology visits. And so I think after a few time outs, he was like, this sucks because I want to be around you. Like, Buddha wants to be around everybody. Even if it's just laying down quiet, like if we're even sitting down to dinner, he's like, I should definitely be lying there staring at you while you're having dinner.
Yeah, now if Raven and Reuben are out, he just kind of lays down, which is super.
It's great. But it took, people are like, oh, how much? Well, how old? Raven's like what? 1 year and how many months?
15 months, I think.
Yeah. And
that's how long it took.
This is how long it took for us to give her freedom.
Yeah.
And she doesn't destroy anything. She goes right to the toy box. She gets toys. I mean, it was very, it's great. She, we supervised her upstairs. It took, till she was over a year for us to do that. And I'm happy with the results, and Buddha and her are getting along. So that makes things much better, because I don't want to keep Raven in the crate all the time. She's older. She's a good dog. She deserves to have some freedoms and good
she's
things.
Not having accidents. She's not destroying stuff. She's a good dog. So it's nice to be able to have your dogs out. And not everybody can do that. You know, a lot of people that have working dogs have to rotate their dogs all day.
Which I'm willing to do.
I'm willing to do it too, but if you don't have to, I mean, it's nice not to have to do that.
It's nice if you can just be chilling with your own animals, with your own zoo. It's a new year.
It's a new year.
It's January 11th. We just came off a big storm.
Yeah, well, we can
Hurricanes.
talk about the wacky ass weather we've been having here. We had a beautiful snowstorm, and I had like 2 beautiful days and this like soft powdery snow, and then it rained and got hot, and
I was just shoveling
it turned
forever.
into like a mud fest. I'm like, oh my God, this is just crazy.
All the snow's gone. We're supposed to have another rainstorm Saturday and
I
a
think
Sunday.
so, yeah. It's been an interesting January.
Hold on to your biscuits.
I know.
Get your sump pumps.
Get your sump pumps ready.
Put on your rubbers.
I know.
That's just a lesson for life.
Ugh, I know.
Put them on. Pull them
All
up.
right. Well, thank you so much for tuning into the show. If you are into what you're listening to, please subscribe, like, and if you can, rate and review the podcast, especially on iTunes if you're listening on there. But if you're on Spotify, you can also like and hit the little star button. Only 5 stars, please. Listen, if you have 4, just keep scrolling, okay? 5 stars. Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio. Or you can listen to the podcast right via my website, fitpetboston.com. If you have maybe an older person in your life or somebody that doesn't like downloading a ton of apps on their phone, you can listen to it right in your browser. So until next time, we'll see you later.
See you later.